All right, Lotters, Star Kiper Jr. back for another edition of Star Kiper. Here in the lot, week 12, things are getting kind of exciting. Before I get too much further, I want to introduce my sponsor for the week, Banana Nut Cheerios, flavored with real banana and natural banana flavor, whatever the hell that means. But I'd like to thank them for their money this week to keep the show up and running. Any of you that are interested in some sort of an opportunity, doing some advertising to keep the show going, please send me your products, your ideas. We'd love to have them here at Star Vegas Inc. Okay, Banana Nut Cheerios for this week. Thanks a lot. Moving on. Last week I was 1-4 because it is utterly impossible to predict what's going on with the lot these days. Tons of parity, tons of fluky performances, tons of teams that shouldn't get beat that are getting beat. And vice versa. And 1-4 last week brings me to 30-25 for the season. At this point, I just want the season to be over so I can get out of here with a record over 500. So we'll get right into the games. Fuff at Mama. For Fuff, Lamar Miller is a tough play this week because that Denver rush defense is pretty good. I don't like Brandon Marshall, and I will throw this out there for everybody that's got a key cog in that Chicago offense, which would be Mama, Ben, Fuff, and Star. I'm not expecting good things from Chicago this week. Lovie Smith's going back home. He's going to get the team fired up to play well. They're going to want to play well for him. Josh McCown's going back. Of course, he's going to want to prove something going back to the team that let him go. So I think they're gonna play hard. I think they're gonna play well. And that Bucs secondary, for 2 weeks in a row, Matt Ryan was supposed to kill them 2 weeks ago. Barely got 200 yards passing. RG3 was supposed to kill them last week. Didn't do hardly anything. So it might be a little bit of a trap game. That's all I'm saying. Just temper your expectations for your Bears players. The Indy guys I love, T.Y. Hilton and Vinatieri. I think they're going to score a lot of points this week against Jacksonville. For Mama, obviously touched on Jeffrey just a minute ago. McKinnon I don't like now with the addition of Tate. Don't know what McKinnon's role is going to be. At the very least, he's going to lose a couple touches every week. Bishop Sankey is, a complete crapshoot week in and week out. But most of the time he's a disappointment. I do like his Chargers players, as well as, of course, Luck and Graham. So we're doing something a little different this week because it's becoming so unpredictable in the lot. I'm going with a very scientific method, a coin flip for the matchups where I have no earthly idea who's going to win. So here it is, the first one. Fuff's going to be heads, Mama's going to be tails, and the coin goes up. And it is Fuff heads to win over Mama. Okay? Moving on to the next matchup, we got Hooligan at Kitty. For Hooli, I like almost all his matchups. Of course, Manning's always good week in and week out, except for when he plays the Rams. Hill looks good, especially if he doesn't get eaten into by Giovanni Bernard. He should get a good workload. Odell Beckham will be a force in that Giants-Dallas game because the Giants are going to be playing from behind, so he's going to get a ton of targets, maybe some garbage time points. I do like Bailey, the kicker from the Cowboys. And the Seahawks defense should be a good play this week against Arizona and the quarterback Stanton. So I look for them to get some sacks and maybe some interceptions. On Kitty's side of the fence, Matt Ryan continues the downward spiral. Not a lot of passing yards, short touchdowns if any. It's just not good production. This week going up against a Cleveland team who's got two shutdown corners on the outside. To tell you what I think of this matchup, I've looked at Starr's lineup. He's benching Julio Jones this week, so that should tell you what he thinks Matt Ryan's chances are of being successful against Cleveland. Alfred Morris doesn't look like a good play this week. I think the 49ers know that RG3 is not going to beat them through the air, so they're going to focus on the run. And lastly, Andre Johnson has a tough matchup against Cincinnati in that secondary. So this one's pretty clear-cut, I think. Thought there were some games that were clear-cut last week too, but I was obviously surprised. But I'm taking Hooligan to beat Kitty. We're going to go Ben at Outlaw. For Ben, I like Denard Robinson. Got some juice there in Jacksonville. The Colts' run defense is really bad. So I look for him to have a couple big plays and have an overall nice day. I like the 49ers defense as I just spoke to. I think they're going to give RG3 fits, maybe some picks, some sacks. We saw the Bucs have some success last week. And then I don't like Stanton, as I just said. That's a good Seahawks secondary. They get good pressure up front. I just think Stanton's prone to make some mistakes, and when you get some pressure on him, he will make them. For Outlaw, really don't like Asiata anymore. Didn't really like him before when McKinnon took the lead role, but now he's going to play third fiddle behind Tate and McKinnon. So I really don't like Asiata in the starting lineup. And LaShawn McCoy I love. Playing against that Tennessee defense that Le'Veon Bell just took to the woodshed and back. Look for McCoy to have one of his better weeks this week all season. So all that being said, I don't have any idea who's going to win this game because they both got good and bad. So again, we've got Ben heads and Outlaw tails, and the coin goes up, and it is tails, Outlaw to win. I mean, I'm hearing this just like you guys are. It's right here, hot off the presses because I don't even know what I'm going to say. Star at Scoresman. Look, Star's like something ridiculous, like a 23-point favorite in this game. Every time we see this, his guys just show up and they think they're going to go through the motions and get a win. And what happens is they put up a half-ass effort and the opponent scores out of their minds. Well, guess what? This week is no different. It is going to be the exact same. I already talked about Cutler and the fact that he's not going to have a good performance. Trent Richardson, even though he's the lead dog and people think he's going to put up points, there is no guarantee there. He will probably stumble to 7 carries for -9 yards in his overall stat line. And then you look at someone like Stephanie Jackson, who should run against a Browns defense who's missing their star linebacker, but that probably won't be the case. They'll find a way to stuff the run, and he will underperform. On Scoresman's side, you look at Hoyer. That Atlanta defense is really, really bad. Hoyer's starting to play well. He gets Josh Gordon back. I think Hoyer has a huge day, probably double or triple the points that's being projected for him on the site. For Brown and Ivory, the two backs playing in that Snow Bowl, obviously if conditions are poor, all they're going to do is run the ball. So look for both of those guys to get a ton of volume, and we all know volume leads to points. So I look for those guys to have a good day. And then Gostkowski, going up against a good Detroit defense, I see the Patriots stalling in the red zone probably about 6 or 7 times. So extrapolate that into some field goals. He could go for 20 as a kicker without too much of a problem. So with all that being said, Scoresman being a 23-point dog is going to win. You heard it here first. And then our game of the week is the 2 first-place teams. We've got Stinker at Shark. It's becoming like a broken record, but every week, I look at Stinker's lineup, and I like Gore against Washington. I like Breeze against Baltimore, and I like Evans against Chicago, and I like Murray against the Giants. I mean, every matchup he's got, it's a stud against a bad team. So once again, he's got a stout lineup and really good matchups. For Shark, it'll be interesting to see what Gordon does. If he does have the big day that I think he potentially could have, this game gets really, really interesting. But if he comes back with some rust on him, it's going to be a position that he'll miss. I do like Ellington against Seattle. Obviously, they haven't been able to stop the run. Jamal Charles had a really, really nice week against them last week for 160 yards and a touchdown. And then Nelson, every week it just seems like he scores on one of those 60 or 70-yard bombs. And Demaryius Thomas and Peyton Manning will probably look to get off the schneid and shake off that bad performance against the Rams and really take it to Miami. So this is actually going to be a really tight game, and it really comes down to Gordon's kind of a question mark. Sanchez is a little bit of a question mark for me. Obviously, it's not as good a defense he's facing this week as it was last week, but you just don't know what he's going to do, and Stinker's got a little bit too much firepower. So I'm going with Stinker to win. So that wraps it up for this week. Don't forget to tune back in next week when the Magic 8 Ball will be here. some very scientific insight and predictions from Star Kiper Jr. here at Star Vegas Inc. You guys enjoy your Week 12, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Bye-bye.